Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Get Geek podcast. My name is Walt, and today on this episode, we are going to be recapping the latest Mandalorian episode, episode 5, The Gunslinger. But first, guys, introduce yourselves.
This is AJ, bidding you a good greetings.
Elias, salutations, fellow intellectuals.
And hello, Internet. This is Jose. What's going on, guys? How you all doing out there? It's nice to see you on one of the inaugural episodes of the Get Geek podcast. And we'd like to announce a little bit of special news. We're going to be having a giveaway. We're going to give you guys some details on that a little bit later in the episode. So listen in, and you can find out how to win some cool nerd swag. But before we get to all that, let's get into our Geekouts of the week, numero uno. Would somebody else like to start with the Geekouts this week, or should I? Should I?
All right. Well,
We've got a taker.
Okay.
Go, AJ. Go, AJ.
Yeah. Give it up.
despite the insane amount of writing that I have to do, I've found time to at least do something.
Mm-hmm.
I've been trying to keep current with South Park.
Nice. I haven't
That's some pretty
gotten
good
completely current recently, but I'm sure it's awesome.
Diggity Farms.
I love the new intro.
BC
Love
babies.
the intro.
I got to get back into it, man.
It's so
I
good.
want to watch it.
No, you're
So
not.
I don't think you can.
No, you're not.
did see-
South Park. Oh, what?
You did see that movie with us the other day. That was kind of Good Boys.
Boy?
That
That wasn't
raunchy.
even
True.
that
That's
wasn't
true.
even bad.
South Park is probably no worse than that. But anyway.
I still remember the movie, though.
Good Boys
It
wasn't
was
even.
horrible.
The movie was pretty bad.
It was awesome, but horrible.
the
in
show.
terms
The
of-
show is rough too. But
Yeah.
But
Anyway,
Yeah.
continue.
So that, let's see, South Park. Still trying to catch up with the House of X comics. It's been a little tough.
ooh, I understand though.
That's a very dense comic to get through.
No, it's not. Not even that. It's just.
No, but there's a lot to unpack.
Oh,
You know?
yeah.
That's what I meant.
And then the other thing I've been doing, I was actually kind of watching a little bit of it during my lunch break today. I was watching the latest episode of Supernatural.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good times, even though Laura's out the window, but whatever.
Alrighty then.
What?
So, is that it?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right, Eli, you're next up to bat. No?
No, save the best for last. Save the best for.
Oh my gosh.
Sure. All right. You know what? I'll lead in somewhat naturally. I'm geeking out over House of X, Powers of X right now, and I'm not going to give up any spoilers on it because I know you haven't finished it. Well, I'm not going to give up any. Let's just say I'm not going to spoil past each respective third issue. I believe when they have the McTaggart reveal.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Yeah,
much
you're on like
third
issue 5, I think.
Actually, no,
You're
it's
probably
somewhere in the
fourth issue,
I
but
was just going through it.
man, like anyway, the comic is awesome. There is, and you're gonna love it. And like I said, you already know about my brand new theory. That's not my own theory, but there's a theory going out there on the internet that there's a fantastic plot line in here that can be used to introduce the X-Men into the MCU. This is why I'm really excited about it. Plus, it's got great political intrigue. It's got it's very interesting how they set up their nation in this comic, the nation of Krakoa. I mean, the basic synopsis for those of you that haven't read it, again, without the spoilers, is the X-Men has basically been rebooted, and in the X-Men comics now, they have their own island nation of Krakoa, which is basically a living mutant island from the past. And they live on this island. All mutants are welcome, and they ask the world basically to accept their sovereignty in exchange for medicine that can cure almost any human disease.
Well, they really don't ask for the sovereignty.
Well, they don't ask, no.
Yes.
But
They
that would probably be
basically
getting a little
tell.
too deep into
Yes.
the machinations of the island nation of Krakoa. And it's just awesome how they've rebooted it.
Yep.
But anyway, yeah, like, I'm going to get into spoiler territory if I keep talking. So I'm just going to leave it at that and let Eli, you no longer get to be
Yeah.
the best for last anymore, buddy, because you're smacking into stuff while we're trying to talk over here. My geek out is done. What's yours?
So basically, the other day I was scrolling through YouTube and I came across this YouTube channel. His name is Hyourinjutsu.
Ah, yes, Hyourinjutsu. I think it's Hyourinjutsu.
Yeah, what
Yeah,
he said, but he
what I said, what I think I said. I think I might be right, but whatever.
yeah, but he basically I noticed that he was he had a pretty good.
What kind of content does he
death
have?
matches, a bunch of death matches.
Oh, okay. So it's kind of like the death match. What is it? Death battle. It's kind of
Yeah.
like death battle, but not like
And
death battle.
they're mostly focused on anime. So
Okay,
that's
that's
the
cool.
thing of why
That's a
I
little
really
different.
like it a lot, because it's basically mostly based off of like anime. Like they have Jotaro. They have like a lot of Dragon Ball. He's pretty good with the animation, and he has he mainly focuses on his subscribers' like theories. So most of them are pretty insane, and that's why I pretty much like his channel.
Oh, when you say his subscriber theories, do you mean that they suggest who should fight, or they suggest who should win?
I think fight. That's what I'm
Yeah.
guessing, because I've seen like
Cool.
the comments. Yeah.
Cool. That sounds pretty good. I like Death Battle if it's Death Battle-ish, but with anime. That sounds, well, just as good.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Cool.
So we're good? Yeah?
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 Oh wow.
All right.
Boy, we're
right.
we're horrible with ending our geek outs today, aren't we?
Yeah,
You know?
I was supposed to have a game plan right now, but like
It's a cacophony of uncomfortable silences here. you know?
I think that chocolate milk hit me like literally smack into my stomach,
See,
Isn't
you
that
have-
like your
and like now
caffeine?
my stomach
Yeah.
like
whenever
coffee.
he has chocolate milk or strawberry milk, he tends to crash. So, are
That's
we
the-
crashing right now?
That's the opposite of what happened
Yeah.
to me when I was your age.
I felt like a punch into
Yeah.
the gut, and now I'm like
You with
bro.
the coffee yogurt,
Well, that's a whole other story entirely. It's
Yeah.
totally different.
you know.
That's a story perhaps for another time.
Yes, exactly. So I'm gonna hit you guys with my geek out. I have a couple of geek outs. The first one is the CCXP event that's going on in Brazil right now. So we're recording this on Saturday. They've dropped a couple of things. They've gone over the Eternals. They dropped the trailer over there, which unfortunately we're not going to be able to see. That's a trailer just for that event. But the feedback from that is amazing. A lot of people are saying that it's going to totally change the way MCU movies are looked at, because it's one of these weird and crazy things. It supposedly spans like 7,000 years in the MCU universe. So you got that. They've also dropped a couple of stills, first looks at the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Those stills weren't totally awesome. It was just both of them just hanging out
Yeah,
and
just kind of
stuff.
standing there getting ready to do superhero stuff.
Right, exactly.
Supposedly.
There was a picture released maybe about a couple of days ago where Daniel Bruhl showed off his chair, which he's gone full on Baron Zemo, which sounds interesting. He'll have the mask and everything. The other one, which I found really interesting, was the WandaVision still that came out of CCXP. That one looks really, really crazy because it looks like a 1950s sitcom.
This one I'm actually far more excited about.
Yes.
The more I find out about it, because of the fact that the Vision comic is pretty fantastic, and it looks influenced by that. So
yeah, I'm curious how they're
Very
gonna
excited.
set that up. Is it a change of reality? Are they going back in time?
Mm-hmm.
Because in that picture, both Wanda and the Vision, they look like normal human beings,
yeah,
set up in like a 50s sitcom. You know, very what kind of sitcoms did they have back then? I don't even
it's
know.
like Lucy or something.
Yes,
like, that.
like I Love
Or
Lucy.
Like, I Love Lucy. Yeah, like
Stuff like that. And they also
Honeymooners, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so that sounds really interesting, and we're gonna see where they take that. Like I said, that's the first real image we've gotten from that show. The other thing that came out, which was super interesting, they released a teaser trailer ahead of the real trailer, which is gonna drop Sunday.
Oh yes, I know what this is. I believe
This is WW84, which is
Yeah.
Wonder Woman 84. It looks spectacular. There is one image where she grabs the gun from, I guess, one of the bad guys, unclips it, the bullet comes out, and she smacks it, and it's kind of effectively shooting the bullet.
Yeah, I'm presuming
You know?
she's hitting somebody with that
Exactly. So
bullet. I like the part where she's literally swinging from lightning bolts.
Yes.
With her lasso.
yes,
I like that part a little bit. I don't know if you noticed that. Did you notice that, or did you see that?
I have swinging from lightning bolts.
Yes,
Hold on.
she
Let's go back
is.
to that really quickly.
I'm telling you, this and
She's
that's just a
swinging her-
teaser trailer.
That's just the teaser. So this is the scene where she deflects the bullet, which you've probably noticed, right? I had to watch it twice, to be honest, to kind of really grasp what she was swinging from right here. But take a good look. When she's using her lasso of truth,
Those are lightning
bolts. 2 lightning bolts.
Those are lightning bolts.
She's swinging from lightning bolts.
For a
Like,
teaser trailer, it is amazing.
that's an awesome detail.
Yeah, so unfortunately, as we're recording this Saturday night. We can't get into the juicy details of that trailer, which comes out next tomorrow actually.
Tomorrow.
But
Next
we're releasing this. Yeah, we're releasing this episode on Monday. So unfortunately, we can't get into that. I really want to geek out on that one.
Well, we can talk about that on the next podcast once we've seen the trailer.
Yes, we will. So I got one last geek out, and that's something that I showed you guys earlier.
Yeah.
That is Free Guy. That is a trailer that came out today, right?
I think so.
Yeah, it was
I believe
today.
so.
It's a Ryan Reynolds movie where he is a bank teller, and he realizes that he is actually an NPC in a video game. And it looks hilarious. It's typical Ryan Reynolds, you know what I'm saying? But he decides at one point that, he kind of finally realizes that he's an NPC, that he's not an actual person.
Yep.
And he decides to fight back.
Yep.
So
Looks interesting.
Yeah, that comes out July of next year, I believe.
It's like They Live, but with
And
video games instead of aliens.
Yeah, and it's like Grand Theft Auto almost, right?
Yeah,
I know,
totally.
it is,
But
it
like
is.
there's a story like him putting on the glasses and discovering the truth behind his world.
Yeah, oh, there's like
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
He
there's-
puts it on. It
has all
the-
these things.
the HUD pops
Taika
up.
Waititi is in it.
He looks like he's the villain.
Oh.
Yeah, he's like what did he say? There was something about rattlesnake.
I don't.
Oh, listen, this movie looks like it's gonna be an absolute blast.
Wait, so if Taika Waititi is the villain, if he is, would that make Ryan Reynolds the good guy?
Well, he's a free guy, but not
No,
necessarily.
he's the great guy. Watch the trailer, you'll understand that reference. So those are the things that I've been geeking out over. I think we should just get into what we're going to get into, because I'm dying to talk about this. That would be Star Wars: The Mandalorian, right?
Episode 5.
Episode 5, The Gunslinger. So, what you guys think of the episode?
I thought it was a really good episode. It is. I think we still all pretty much agree that episode 3 is our favorite. Well, not all of us, but you and I probably would definitely agree that episode 3 is the best episode so far. The coolest episode, the best action-packed episode.
We find out the name of that planet in this episode too, right?
We do.
Yes.
We do. And episode 4, you guys recapped it, and I liked episode 4. I didn't get to talk about it. I liked episode 4. It wasn't my favorite episode either. It probably was. I think actually, strangely enough, episode 1. Or no, episode 1 and episode 4 are my least favorite episodes. Episode 3 is my favorite, and episode 2 and the most recent episode are kind of up there for my second favorite episodes. But so episode 4 I enjoyed, and it brought us the lovely Baby Yoda sipping bone broth, which is now replacing Kermit, or at least the best. What was it? The best meme I've seen about this so far is Kermit walked so that Baby Yoda could fly. I think that's the perfect way to describe how that's going to be like the meme for like minding my own business from now on. But anyway, memes aside, episode 5 was it was also really good. I enjoyed I enjoyed the mission. I thought the mission was interesting. I thought the beginning of the episode was really cool, even though the line he delivered was kind of like I knew he was going to say that when he was getting chased at the beginning of the episode. The line he delivered as the kind of the killing line, we'll say, or the punch line.
Yes, definitely.
I thought the battle, or I thought the plan during the mission was really cool and well executed. The way that he decided to change the time of the engagement, without getting into too many spoilers and just giving you general impressions, and the strategy that he employed. I liked the again somewhat obvious but kind of cool twist with the character of the week, and I like the fact that Amy Sedaris guest starred in this episode. She's a pretty awesome comedian, and it's definitely cool. The woman who's the mechanic, Pelly, yes.
Mm-hmm.
She's a comedian. So she does like a lot of comedy sketch shows, and she's pretty funny. So
do you know who the actor that plays Toro is? Right. That is you. Are you familiar with Bobby Cannavale?
Yeah,
that's his son.
That's his son?
Yes, it is.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
I love Bobby Cannavale.
There you go. So now you have a son to love also.
That guy was good. I liked him.
He was pretty good.
He was good for like the role that he played in this episode. Like I said,
he wasn't asked to do much.
He wasn't asked to do too much, but he did enough. He had to he was kind of pivotal to the episode, even though he didn't do or say much. Yeah. So he pulled that off in a really good way. So the acting was really good. You know, Ming-Na Wen being another guest star in this episode was also pretty cool because I like her as an actress. And yeah, I just like the general direction of the episode. And again, I really like how the episodes this season and then this show are, you know, they each have like a sort of a plot of the week, even though I'm not usually, as I've said before, a fan of a plot of the week with TV episodes and stuff like that. The way that this show works is it's using the plot of the week to kind of take its time with the overall narrative, because every episode does add to the overall narrative.
I've got something to say about that.
Well, we could talk about that impression when you give us your impression in a moment. But like, you know, like I said, I usually don't like that, but I like the way they're pulling it off here, and I think, again, we all have a good idea why this show both exists and where they're going with some of the characters, possibly leading into the Rise of Skywalker. I think we all believe that. So yeah, I think it was a really good episode. I've enjoyed every episode of The Mandalorian so far, so it's not like I have a bad episode in mind. But this was like a second tier episode, you know, so far, if we're talking about like how it falls in the quality of Mandalorian episodes. Great show, good episode.
Here's what I like. I really like the atmosphere that they played with in this episode, because the place that this episode goes to, it's a place we've been before, even in the movies, but it's a very different atmosphere that's been built here. Yeah. And you especially notice it in a certain bar that they go into. I'm not going to reveal what kind of bar this is, because then it'll give it away. But, damn, so much has changed. Yeah, I really... For some reason... No. I really like the creature features also. They were pretty well done. I don't know which ones were practical and which ones were CGI. I think the
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah
You're talking about those animals?
yeah
the
those
riding animals?
Yeah, I think those were CGI, but a lot of the aliens that we saw in that particular bar you were speaking about,
Those were practical.
Those were practical.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
I think the riding animals were probably CGI because they moved around a lot.
Yeah.
Oh no, but the part of the episode that I really liked, probably my favorite part of the whole thing, was this one interaction we got in this certain part of this
Yes.
planet, which I'm dying to say the name of, but I can't because we're not going into spoilers yet.
not just yet.
Just a minute.
But
We'll get there.
they have a particular encounter with a very particular race that has been very particularly feisty in the past. And I just like the way they maneuver around them. It is so good and well thought out.
Isn't it so cool how they're building on some of the mythology in this show from
Yeah.
the original Star Wars, like characters and animals and stuff like that, and races? It's cool.
Yeah, and the interpretations between them, in a way, it was kind of funny because of, I guess, the reaction that came from the secondary character.
Yeah, because you normally expect these guys to be pillaging and killing you, but
Yeah.
you see a very different side of them this episode.
I know.
And it was really cool how like they were kind of just there.
Yeah.
They're like ninjas.
Yeah,
I know.
and Mando knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was so...
Yeah.
The
was like,
moment that guy was looking into the binoculars, I was totally expecting one of them to just go up and go.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
Yeah, I
Not
know.
yet.
But you saw what I did.
Go
No,
up
I
and
know what
raise
you're talking
a
about.
thing.
Yeah.
So definitely, you know what, and it also changes a particular aspect of both the original trilogy and the prequels, because now you wonder, why didn't they do that back then?
Because they were
Maybe
jerks.
because, yeah.
Well, yeah,
there's that.
exactly. But anyway,
Or
we're
they
getting
didn't
ahead
know.
of ourselves here. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, but that's basically what I really liked about this episode,
So
in a nutshell.
I felt that Filoni, he was very strategic on how he directed this, and it to not spoil it, it kind of brought me back to Call of Duty in this one specific scene. I can't. It's not something that you can understand if I don't explain it. So.
Okay.
We'll
I'll
get
just
to
take your
that
word
as
for it.
well.
But I felt this this particular episode was very comedical. I mean
Comedic, but it's okay.
comedic.
Well, it's all right.
Damn.
Don't worry.
That was
fine.
comedical.
yeah, exactly. That worked.
That wasn't comedical. That was
Comedic.
Comedic-ish.
But anyway, what else did you think about the episode?
yeah,
I felt that they definitely built on Mando's character. Well,
I'm thinking right now.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Is it how he was like
Me-
very strategic?
they definitely made this a much better episode, especially since Filoni was directing it. This was one of my favorites, not my favorite, but one. And yeah, I really, and then there's this one scene that's been getting me, but I can't say it. So yeah, that's basically it.
Cool. General impressions.
I want to get into spoiler territory right now. Like, not even gonna lie.
All right. So
We're almost there.
we can about do that soon.
Yeah.
Soon.
So I'll do this really quickly. Like Eli said over here, this was an episode that I was really looking forward to because I'm a big fan of Dave Filoni, and not only did he direct this episode, he wrote the episode also.
Yeah.
And
I was
his
gonna ask, and I
imprints.
believe that was the case.
Yeah, his imprints were all over this. I mean, he was going and he was giving us Easter eggs from the original trilogy. He was giving us Easter eggs from the prequels. There was a lot of interesting things that he did, particularly with the stuff with the bar. But then there was also some other things that makes you question the mythology of everything. and I'll get into that in spoilers because I find it interesting that a certain person wasn't ever mentioned at all in this episode, and especially given the fact of where we were, I would have thought that at least that name would have dropped somewhere once.
That's true.
So,
but I guess we'll see exactly how far his legend spread, because this is supposed to take place mostly in the Outer Rim worlds.
Right, and so that was something that I was going to get into because, you know, well, we'll get into that once we get into the spoiler stuff.
Once we get into
it was one of my more well-received episodes. I think the problem that I have right now with the series, and it's not a big problem because I'm still truly enjoying the series, it's just that the first 3 episodes were very much like a movie. If you had put them back to back to back and just released it that way, that flowed as a movie. And then starting with episode 4, like you said, we started to get into the creature of the week, the plot of the week and stuff like that. And that's where I think we're losing a little bit of the momentum that we had with the first 3 episodes.
I think that's why episode 3 was the best, probably, because episode 1 and 2 still did have kind of like a plot of the week. Right. Episode 1 was finding Baby Yoda. Episode 2 was getting off the planet. Episode 3 was dealing with the fallout. So now it's him
just
getting
like
away.
A movie. You had 3 acts. So it worked well in that aspect because every episode built up to that third act, that third episode. Whereas these 2 episodes, I don't feel that they're building on the mythology all that well. And the bigger issue that I have is that, you know, we have 8 episodes at roughly around 30 to 40 minutes, right? I don't think we need to have episodes that are treated as filler. And I think that's what we're getting in this 4th and 5th episode. I'm hoping that we get away from that in episode 6 and we get back to that mythology building and that continuation of the story. Right now, it's a little stagnant for me. I'm still enjoying the stories, but I think we need to get back to the storytelling that we had in those first 3 episodes that kind of build and keep moving this story forward. That's my only criticism of this episode. And again, it hurts my heart because this is a Dave Filoni episode and I love his work, and I think that he needs to have a feature film because of the wealth of knowledge that he has as a Star Wars person. He was groomed to be George Lucas's right-hand man. You know, he started out as an intern and George Lucas quickly realized his talent, brought him under his wing and taught him everything when it came to Star Wars. And you see it in this episode. I just want to see less of the plot of the week and more of the storytelling going forward, especially in the fact that it's only 8 episodes. It's only 30, 40 minutes. It's not like a 22 episode season where you need those type of episodes to elongate it and keep people engaged. You don't. It's a short form season.
I think I just want to say 2 quick things about that as a rebuttal. I think that I understand the slight filler nature of it, but I think part of that is that we're supposed to be made to understand through a lot of different episodes and moments in the series that he's very new to this to a certain extent.
No, I agree.
So I think that this is kind of him meandering and not knowing what the heck to do after doing what he did with Baby Yoda.
He's a horrible father. Ish.
He's tough, man. He's rough.
But again, that
thing
leads. I'm sorry.
No. The other thing, very quickly, I just wanted to say is, I haven't seen all of the Dave Filoni, content and TV shows like you guys have. But what I have noted is that what he likes to do, at least in my opinion, is he likes to litter the universe with characters who will have a bigger role later.
Yes.
And that's what you have with
awesome
Gina Carano's character. That's what you have, I believe, in this episode with a new character that gets introduced.
Right.
That's what you have in episode 2 with Nick Nolte's character. So he's building a network of allies because he's going to need some running away from the guild. So I think that, I agree to a certain extent, but those are kind of my small rebuttals.
He does really good world building. That's one of his strengths, and you can see it here, like you said, where and he's also show running this with Favreau. You know, they're both doing this in tandem and stuff. So Favreau is really the guy that's running this stuff, but he's leaning heavily on Filoni for his input on this. And you can see it in the show. Like you said, the world building is amazing in the show. You know, they're literally putting in these little pieces from past movies, from, you know, and tying it all together. It's just...
Oh, and I guess one more thing on that point. Sorry to cut you off, but I believe that each episode serves the purpose of establishing who these characters are, because that's why those characters are the focus of the episode, establishing their morals, their ethics, their code, so that can be used later on in the show.
Right, but again, you know, going back to that pivotal episode 4 for me, there has been a shift in the way they're building Mando's character, because in the very first 3 episodes, he would not let Baby Yoda out of his sight. You know, he realized how important.
Tired new dad.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Well, I guess if you want to put it that way, but I mean, look at episode 4.
I don't know. I just
Episode 4. He brought the baby Yoda into another bar, right, and literally left him there with a person he doesn't even know.
The bartender. He just flipped
her an Imperial credit and say, "Watch the kid." That's something
Empire could show up with way more money than that, dude.
Yeah, but it's something that
He's
doesn't
green.
But in the first 3 episodes, they showed that he took him in places where it was like dangerous.
He's improving, I guess.
Improving? I don't know about that. You know what I'm saying? Well, anyway,
or he's learning on the job.
I did enjoy the episode. Don't get me wrong. I know I'm sounding a little negative on it. I did enjoy the episode a lot. You know, I want them to go back to the way that they were doing this in the first 3 episodes and continue on that instead of just stopping. It feels like a halt to the show right now. That's my take on it. So.
All right. Shall we get into it?
Spoilers? Yeah, let's go into spoilers, man, because I think everybody here is dying to get into some of these Easter eggs that are there, right? So let's go straight up spoilers. Again, if you haven't seen the show, pause, go watch the show, and then come back. We're going to start dissecting some of these Easter eggs that Filoni threw all over the place and stuff.
Storyline.
So spoilers starting
details
now. Who wants to go first?
All right. So we enter the episode. I think the beginning of the episode is really, really cool, actually. I think that's one of my favorite parts of the episode.
Yes, it is.
I enjoyed the whole episode, but that was really cool how, like, at the beginning of the episode, Mando and Baby Yoda are in the middle of a dogfight in space. They're getting chased by a random bounty hunter that just found them out in the middle of nowhere. And I think this is a quick, easy, cool scene to establish the fact that nowhere is really safe for him right now. Like, they can find him just about anywhere. In the middle of nowhere, on a planet, wherever he is right now.
So can I ask you a question? I asked this question before in the last podcast. How do you think fobs work in this universe?
They really must be, like, able to find something's DNA or something crazy like that.
I wish they would explain that, because
they're going to have to.
Because, I mean, it's just really random that, you know, they're finding them everywhere. You know, you would think that Mando would try and figure out a way to beat that, right?
You would think that there would be no need for bounty hunters in this universe, even, because if you can find out where somebody is literally at all times, just like call the cops or, like, I don't know, go get them yourself.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, I don't know. Well, I mean, I guess there would be a slight need for bounty hunters in the dangerous situations, but for the most part, like, I guess that's why it's a dwindling market.
It could be bounty hunter exclusive.
Maybe, they only have the tech. Only they have the guild has the tech for that, maybe. Whatever it is, it's pretty awesome.
And I'm pretty sure bounty hunters weren't organized as well as we see here, like back in the older movies, right?
Maybe not.
They were mainly just like, you didn't see Boba Fett going, "Hey, Aura Singh, how'd you do on that last job?" You know, like, there was no real.
Well, they didn't focus.
They were
on
more
them.
independent, though.
Well, I think Boba Fett was more like for hire, like as a bodyguard, kind of, as well as a bounty hunter, because by the time Return of the Jedi rolls around, he's like guarding
the
for some
huts.
reason, guarding the huts.
Yeah, he was working with the huts.
But look, my point is they were largely independent. You didn't see them like working in guilds.
Yeah, I don't think that was as as probable in the original trilogy.
Like even if you watch the Clone Wars series, they're largely independent.
That's true. I mean, maybe with the fall of the Empire, because remember, this is 5 years afterwards. Maybe with the fall of the Empire, they had to kind of unionize, you know.
They did kind of mention that in one of the earlier episodes,
Yeah.
how like there's just not as much to do as a bounty hunter for the most part because the Empire was their best client.
Yeah.
So
That would only make sense because if you're a mercenary and your most trusted client is the Empire because the Empire hires you
You need a
by
new boss, right?
now it's just fragments
by
of the
no
Empire. that
Yeah.
can
You just get
hire.
you literally just put yourself up for hire and just anybody who comes through to you then yeah. So you basically have nothing to do these days, so I mean, what am I gonna tell you? Like, man, I mean, bounty hunters are bored.
It's a complicated profession.
The
I saw that.
bounty hunter economy is really dry right now.
Yeah.
But so fobs are weird, and that's something that we have to establish. Favreau and Filoni, you better explain that at some point, because that's going to become a bigger and bigger plot hole until you can drive like a Star Destroyer through it, basically, until we find out what the deal with that is.
So the big line in that particular scene.
Yeah, I think, okay, so I just wanted to say, like, this episode was cool, but also I feel like every moment you knew what was going to happen. You knew what they were going to do, like, and except for maybe the one moment that is coming up with our friends that Meta mentioned that are going to be showing up in this episode, because that was unexpected. But the line, the bounty hunter, whose name is Riot Mar, we never get that in the episode, but that's his name, says to Mando, I can bring you in warm or I can bring you in cold. And as soon as he said that, I knew that when this guy died, he was going to hear a rebuttal to that.
Yep.
And Mando, of course, after pulling that awesome maneuver where he kind of does, that's a little bit of a throwback to Return of the Jedi, when Luke Skywalker hits the brakes on the speeder, in my opinion. I think.
But the thing about it is that Mando's doing that in space. He
Yeah.
shouldn't be able to do
Thrusters.
that in space.
Maybe he has retro thrusters of some sort. I didn't see
gather.
him.
Yeah, I didn't see that
I didn't see him
either.
hit, but like,
Air brake? I don't know. It doesn't work.
yeah, an air
you
brake's
know?
probably not going to work in space. But I still think it's kind of like a callback to Return of the Jedi in the speeder scene with Luke.
Yeah.
He hits the brakes and gets behind the guy, and before he blows him away, he says, "That's my line," and then
Boom.
blasts him into oblivion with his spaceship. What do you guys think of that whole scene? Like so far,
It was very Han Solo-esque. Not gonna lie.
It really was.
Mm-hmm.
It reminded me of
Stay tuned for that content.
oh, I forgot that scene, but there was a scene where it was it was Han Solo in space. I forgot it.
which one? Han Solo in space? That's a lot of scenes with Han Solo.
Yeah, I know.
I know, but like, yeah.
Never tell me the odds.
I
something
don't
like
remember.
that.
I don't remember.
I thought it was really high quality production value there. You could tell that the budget was well spent in that particular scene.
That was a good chase scene and good CGI throughout that scene.
It really did bring me back to the old Star Wars movies.
I think that's
yeah.
his point. That's what he was trying to get you to feel.
Well, he
did?
made you feel it, and then he immediately took you back to the old Star Wars movies with the return. Mando basically, his spaceship
Ship.
got shot up,
The Razor Crest.
so he's losing fuel, and he has to land on the nearest planet. What planet would that be, Meta?
I don't know. Do you guys know where Mos Eisley is? If you're a Star Wars fan, you better, because you know that is a city on Tatooine.
We get Tatooine in The Mandalorian.
Hey.
So it's just an incredible callback. And the flight into the spaceport brings you back to the original New Hope, right? And
You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
but that wretched hive is not that much. That is not as scummy as villainous as it was before.
No, it's
know?
not.
Yes.
But
But we'll get to that. So he he lands in a hangar that's very reminiscent of where Han Solo blasted his way out of Tatooine in that original movie.
Yeah.
And that's where we meet this next character, which Jose is very well. He knows this person very well.
Yeah, we get Amy Sedaris' character, Pelly, who she was a good character in this episode. She was funny. She was meant to be funny. She is the mechanic in the hangar that Mando lands in.
We get pit droids.
She has pit
droids.
droids from the original, or not the original trilogy, excuse me, the prequel trilogies, episodes 1, 2, and 3. They return for this return to Mos Eisley spaceport. And I got to say, actually, one of the cool things of that scene, or even before he gets to that point, is when he sees this is immediately following when he returns to Mos Eisley spaceport. So he has the conversation with Amy Sedaris about fixing up his ship. And this is a pretty good scene. Baby Yoda is asleep, and he leaves him in the spaceship.
With the door open.
With the door open. Oh, no, the door wasn't open. The door came down.
But he left the
Should've
main.
locked it.
He left the main door open, the one that leads out of the ship. So bad parenting, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, baby Yoda is not necessarily left in the best of hands.
No, actually, he doesn't even tell Pelly about it.
No.
You know,
I guess at this point he's probably worried that anybody that knows about Baby Yoda is a liability or something like that.
yeah, I guess.
Or a narc.
Yeah, could be.
It would only make
Narc.
sense.
Yeah, that's so he like meanders out of the ship. Basically, he wakes up. He's asleep at the beginning of the episode. He wakes up and Baby Yoda just walks off the ship and reveals himself to Pelly. And basically, she says she's going to charge more for taking care of him, which
That was
is
a great line.
interesting little moment. So that whole part is pretty cool. And then I really liked when he starts walking around Mos Eisley. You see the scene that was, I think, in one of the trailers with the stormtrooper helmets
Yes.
on the pikes. God, dark.
Dang it, I was gonna say that.
Well, what did you think about that?
I thought that was. Usually, when I see Tatooine, I thought of it as, let's say, a very. How do I put this? To put it in the nicest terms, like Obi-Wan says,
A wretched hive.
a wretched hive,
of
but
scum
like.
and villainy.
Yeah, but when I saw that scene, damn, that was just on a whole different level. That was crazy. Just seeing those stormtroopers helmets literally on pikes. For Star Wars, that was pretty brutal. Not even gonna lie. Other than that time that Anakin slit Count Dooku's throat.
Cut his head off.
Cut his head off, yeah.
I don't know about. Well, yeah, slit his throat, the whole thing.
The whole way through. He didn't slit it. He sliced it in half.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, that was a cool, dark scene over there. What did you guys think of that? Of that little callback to the trailers, I guess.
Man, I want to see more of that.
I need to see more of that.
More of that darkness.
We know the anti-empire sentiment is there, but we haven't seen it as hardcore as this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I guess that begs the question about the legend of a certain character that's from there. Because if you figure they're so anti-empire on Tatooine, they would have a bit of an idea of who blew up the freaking Death Star.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
But would they?
What you think about that?
Well,
they might not, but I mean, him
Yeah.
being from there it might be kind of like, oh man, we have a hero from this planet. I feel like that. I understand Walt's point on that one, because if you have somebody who's from your planet who literally saved the freaking galaxy, you might know his name.
And not only that, it's the whole thing where it's the anti, like you said, AJ, it's the anti-empire sentiment that is being reflected in that particular scene. And you go back to A New Hope, and it was almost as if the Empire was occupying Tatooine because they were walking around, in full troop gear and stuff like that. It was almost like a police force.
Yeah, I feel like from then on they had begun occupying Tatooine, because before it seemed like they hadn't even really been there other than maybe a couple of times.
Right, exactly.
They weren't stationed there like they are in later on, perhaps.
So the particular character that we're referring to is Luke Skywalker.
Obviously, right, guys?
Yeah, definitely, right. And it's one of these things where it's like, it just shows you how insulated and how big this universe is, because you would think that this is a hero that should be, really well known wherever you are, whether it's the
Almost
outer rim,
wherever.
the middle rim, the inner rim, and all that other stuff. And you go back to Force Awakens, and it's almost like he was a myth. It wasn't even like he's a real person. So it just goes to show you that,
It's a
we
big
look
universe.
we look at Luke Skywalker as this cultural icon, but in that universe, I don't think a lot of people knew about him. And again, we go back to the books. Darth Vader was known as Darth Vader. It wasn't until a particular moment in, I believe it was called the book was Aftermath, that it was revealed that Anakin and Darth Vader are the same person.
This was well after his death as well,
Exactly.
wasn't it?
It shows you how big of a universe the Star Wars
News
universe
does not
is.
travel fast.
It doesn't. It really doesn't. And so, the fact that Luke wasn't even name dropped at least once, or some reference, kind of shows you how insulated Tatooine is, in terms of news and stuff like that.
I think it's a beautiful bit of world building, because when you go to like possibly and on the Earth as well, like poor villages and places like that, they don't have all the news. They don't care about all the news. They're just trying to survive. And Tatooine looks like a poor planet. It doesn't look like a place where like a lot of rich people live. Maybe
Right,
a few.
exactly.
It looks like a poor farmer's planet.
The way I see it is basically like Game of Thrones, where they even mentioned it. Most of the people don't even care about all the drama that's going on between
it's true.
between
That's a
them
good
all.
point.
They're just like they're to survive, really, not really just for the drama that's going on between like government and rebels, because it's like
It's like
who
they don't
cares?
care who's
We're
in
trying to
charge.
survive.
They're
Like
still poor. Their
you-
lives don't change.
yeah, you blow up the Death Star, nobody cares. We're just trying to survive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just found that interesting and stuff. But once we get into Tatooine, again, AJ referenced this before, we walk into a specific place that is full of lore in the Star Wars universe. AJ, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Okay, so again, if you're a Star Wars fan, you might know what this is. It's actually not a bar. It's a
Bar.
cantina. Yeah, it's the Mos Eisley cantina.
Bar.
And guess what? The first jarring change that I noticed: no droids. Pff, yeah, right. Have droids all over the place.
The droid was the bartender, wasn't he?
You had R4 mech units, I think, or
Yep.
like those astromechs. You had the dudes from the Jabba's Hut palace. The guy that worked in the droid room. It was a droid itself, but I'm guessing it's like a service droid. So
Yeah, it looks like the place is under new management. So, and the other aspect of it, it's empty, which was pretty jarring because in New Hope that place was standing room only, and now you walk in there, and again reflecting on the state of the universe.
there more law
it's
and
not
order
scummy. It's
because
not
of the New Republic?
villainy. Yeah, I don't know. They really haven't. But I guess what it is that maybe there's not enough work going on. So
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like the Empire, like
Not
probably
e-
employed like 50% of the scoundrels in the universe.
Exactly.
not even that. Also take into account. This is going back to bounty hunting. Who was the prominent even if you're discounting the Empire, the prominent faction that would have hired the scummy types? Who controlled that planet? It was the Hutts. They're gone.
Yes. Again,
So that would
taken
have
out
had
by
a major impact on that world's scum system. So
taken
to
out
say.
by Luke Skywalker. a person that we
But no
talked
one
about.
knows.
Well,
Yeah, I
no
know.
one knows.
Something that really is interesting to me is the fact how you can find bounty hunters literally when not looking for them. Honestly, the Mandalorian found the secondary character that we will talk about just
Yeah.
like right after this, but like it's so easy to find bounty hunters nowadays. It's like not even funny.
Well, he made himself known pretty easily, right?
Well, yeah,
I
he shows
know.
up right away, basically, right? Because the Mando asked the droid bartender if there's any work, and there is no work. Basically, like we
There's
said,
no guild
There's
anymore
nothing
there.
for him to do. The guild doesn't operate on that planet. You're right. The droid mentions that,
Mm-hmm.
and then we meet the young character who, yeah, Walt. Like you said, this is Bobby Cannavale's son, and now that you say it, I see the resemblance.
Yeah, look at the face.
Same.
For sure.
know?
A character named Toro Calican
Such a Star Wars name.
is in earshot. All the Star Wars names are really well done by Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni.
Yeah.
I guess Dave Filoni kind of built that mythos, though, to a certain extent.
Yep.
But we're introduced to our friend Toro, and
And where's he sitting?
he's sitting. That's the booth where Han Solo was
He
sitting.
was sitting right where Han Solo was when he was talking to Greedo.
Yep.
You know?
Absolutely. So that's another callback. I've seen a few articles on the internet say that there were a little too many callbacks and Easter eggs in this episode, but I don't agree.
No, I don't think so either. I think it was perfectly done. It wasn't all that in your face. It was one of those things where if you're a Star Wars nerd, you pick that up really quickly. They didn't shout out, "This is where Han Solo." They didn't have a plaque behind the wall. This is where Han Solo shot Greedo. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things where if you're a nerd of Star Wars, dude, Han Solo was sitting there.
And it's plausible. Like if you go to Tatooine, Mos Eisley Spaceport is probably the biggest spaceport on the planet, so you would end up there, which means you would end up at the Mos Eisley Cantina, and you might end up talking to a kid who's sitting in Han Solo's booth where he shot Greedo.
Yeah, I know.
It's possible.
What
It's
is
plausible.
that? Reserve booth seating? I don't get it. You know.
Yeah, maybe that's just like the scoundrels seating. But yeah, that like he convinces Mando to sit down and help him with a mark that he's trying to take out, and the aforementioned Ming-Na Wen as the assassin Fennec Shand, another very Star Wars name if I've ever heard one.
And remember, he's very, very, very green. He's not even a member of the guild yet. This is his way of getting in.
Yeah.
And to the point that he's so green that he doesn't even know who Fennec Shand is. He just thinks she's just a mark. And Mando is like, "Are you crazy? If you go after her by yourself, you're not coming back by the morning. You're not coming back, period."
Basically.
And he actually walks away from it. And then the kid goes and he says, "Well, listen, I don't even care about the money. You can take all the money. Just help me." And that's the thing that brings him back. And he says, "Okay, well, we're going to do this my way."
Yeah, basically he tells him, like, this is my way into the guild. And I don't know, what do you guys think of that scene? Like, was that a pretty cool setup for the mission ahead?
I feel like that relates to the idea that there is no jobs anymore, and that since there aren't any jobs, no like specific thing to do anymore. Basically everybody has to just like I guess change jobs and go to like bounty hunting more than like, because all the jobs are gone because of the empire,
Okay, just take a breath. It's fine.
the economy.
The economy. That's fine. That's
The
fine.
economy. What's up with the economy? Continue.
See? Come on.
But there basically is no economy anymore,
Yes.
and no jobs. So
that leaves people with bounty hunting, and that's why there's so many people trying to get into the guild, but there isn't much of the guild.
I do have a rebuttal to that because if you're really going to look at it that way, it didn't look like this kid was interested in the money of it all. And this becomes very, very, very apparent as the episode goes out.
I know,
he
but
wasn't in it for the money because for him the important thing was getting into the guild first.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Right. So, but trust me, he's in it for the money because otherwise he wouldn't be a bounty hunter. I think it was just I need to get my foot in the door to be able to do this, and if I have to skip a payout, then this is what I'm going to have to do.
Yeah.
But it'll set me up in the future because now I'm a bounty hunter in the guild.
He's playing it smart. He's playing it smart, basically.
Yeah.
He's just trying to get in the door, like you said. So, I mean, that's a cool scene, but I do have to ask the question, like, yeah, this kid is new, but he doesn't know about, like, the most notorious mark that the bounty hunters are chasing right now, the Bounty Hunter Guild, being Mando. Like, he's probably, like enemy number one right now.
That's how green he is because he doesn't even know this.
This kid is kind of dumb, I guess, right?
Yeah,
sort of dumb.
Well, his dumbness shows throughout the episode. So
that's true.
You know.
But yeah, he has that scene. The scene ends with the tracking fob being destroyed, which again begs the question: how does that thing work, and how does he know that she's still going to be where he memorized her being, according to him? And then Mando returns to the ship and gets chastised by Peli for the same reason that Walt says.
Horrible father.
You're a terrible parent for leaving this little baby Yoda alone all by himself. And
they were playing Sabak at that point, weren't they?
I think they were also, yeah.
So
that's the other callback to the episode.
Yeah.
Or to some of the older movies.
Actually, they were playing Sabak before she found Baby Yoda.
Yeah, and then he wandered out.
Yeah, exactly. So, anyway, continue.
They return, or Mando returns to well, I'm sorry. He exits the hangar where Peli works, and Toro is there with a pair of speeder bikes.
And I mentioned that to you guys when we were watching the episode, right? What speeder bikes were those?
I at first thought they were the ones used on Endor, but apparently they're the ones used. Actually, they're the ones that were used in Attack of the Clones, namely by another famous guy that's from around this place, Anakin Skywalker.
The swoop bikes, correct?
So that's what they're called, swoop bikes.
They're called swoop bikes.
Yeah.
Okay.
They are speeders, but they call them speeders in this, but they were called swoop bikes apparently, according to the original Attack of the Clones. But
gotcha.
It's the desert variant of the speeder, I guess, probably like to deal with the sand and all of that kind of stuff compared to the one on Endor. It does get everywhere.
Oh boy. All right, so they head out and they're on their way, and now AJ again.
Not before Toro notices Baby Yoda, though.
Oh yeah, well, you know,
which is
again,
important.
Again, he sees Baby Yoda. He doesn't
seem to know Baby Yoda at all, but like he notes that there is a child.
And so they jump on these bikes.
And that scene, the riding of it, that was a pretty cool scene where they're kind of like semi-racing for a little bit.
Yeah.
They have some of the cool angles and shots from above and all of that they have in that episode.
But we forgot to mention they're heading out to the Dune Sea.
Yes.
That's
another
true.
callback. You know, I mean, this episode is full of those and stuff like that. So they're out driving through the Dune Sea, and Mando tells them, "Hey, stop."
Hey, yo.
AJ's smiling. AJ's smiling. Come on, hit us with it.
So when we see stop, when Mando says stop, what is the first thing we hear? We hear, oh God, I forgot the name of those huge
Banthas?
Yeah, the banthas. We hear banthas. And what are banthas associated with? Well, Toro gets on the binoculars, and you know what he sees? He sees a nice little troop of Tusken Raiders.
No, that was a dewback, not a bantha.
No, the
Yeah.
No, it was
Dewback
the
was
Dewback.
Came first.
No,
Yeah.
it was
the
Samantha.
Dewback was later in the episode.
Oh.
The banthas are the ones that have the horns that go around and they're really shaggy. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that didn't have horns. I don't remember it having
Yeah,
horns.
it did.
Banthas have horns.
No, I know banthas have horns, but for some reason I remember seeing a Dewback in that episode.
Yeah, that comes
Maybe I'm
after
crazy.
that
That's
encounter.
that's later on when they encounter their target. There is a Dewback in the episode. It's just not there. Right now they're right. Tusken Raiders ride banthas. They don't ride Dewbacks. Dewbacks, they were notorious when we saw the Dewbacks in A New Hope, where the stormtroopers were riding them. You know, so
Indeed.
in this one we're seeing the banthas and stuff like that, and there are Tusken Raiders.
And in
Yeah.
the way Tusken Raiders do, it didn't happen at first, but when he was on the Noculars, I was fully expecting one of them to just completely obscure the vision and go. But no,
they do
you
it
know
a
what we
different
did?
way.
We
Yeah.
could do another callback.
So remember what Toro says. He
Yeah.
says they better stay out of my way, right?
Or I'm going to shoot him up and whatever.
something like that.
And then Mando basically goes, "Oh yeah, well guess what? On your left. Why don't you tell them?" And they're right there.
Yeah.
Tusken Raider ninjas. I mean, seriously, these guys are stealthy as heck.
I love the way they're just standing there like, when were you going to notice that we were here, dude? This guy knew. Taking out the binoculars like a dumbass.
Gosh.
That was a
But-
cool little piece of comedic timing right
Yeah.
there.
And instead of that evolving into a shootout, as you would normally expect of Tusken Raiders, Filoni decides to take a different approach. Instead of having a shootout, Mando actually starts a negotiation, and with sign language.
Which is an interesting
That's-
little piece to add to the Tusken Raider mythology, because we never heard them speak. We only heard them grunt and stuff like that. To have them, communicate via sign language was really interesting, and it's
Or maybe that's how they communicate with people who don't speak their langue. Either way, it's still cool.
maybe, but it is a cool way of doing it.
Because maybe their
Yeah.
grunts still mean something to other Tusken Raiders, but like if a Tusken, I mean, they understand Chewbacca, so it would make sense if they understood Tusken Raider grunts in this universe. But at the same time, it's still kind of cool how like they have that as a way of them to interact.
A
So-
thousand. 1,000 IQ intellectual Mandalorian. We're not even gonna lie though.
He's a polyglot.
Yeah. So
Speaks many languages.
Mando negotiates with them because they have to cross their territory. He negotiates by giving them Toro's binoculars, right? Mm-hmm. So now that begs the question.
They were new.
Yeah, well, not anymore.
They were.
They were. But that begs the question: why couldn't Uncle Owen and Luke negotiate with these guys in the same way? You know?
Probably because they didn't know. Like I'm assuming that the Mandalorian knows about them because he probably recognizes them as like a warrior tribe, and Mandalorians are a warrior tribe too. So I don't know. Maybe it came up in Warrior Training 101. This is how we speak. In case you ever go to Tatooine, here's how you communicate with a Tusken Raider without getting shot.
Okay.
You
That
figure though,
works.
like Luke and Uncle Owen living on Tatooine would know how to communicate. Well,
Yeah,
they're probably
would
that
they?
much
So,
like
But
kind of
would
bumpkins that they didn't even know how to like negotiate with
Maybe
some
that's
of the
what it
bad
was.
guys of the neighborhood because they weren't a wretched hive of scum and villainy like Mando sort of is.
well, and you also remember the Tusken Raiders were notorious for shooting at the pod races when they were having the race.
They're just all around aggressive.
Yeah. So.
And they travel in single file to hide their numbers.
So we had that. So that was pretty interesting.
This part of the episode is one of my probably one of my other favorite parts.
So
when
explain the scene then.
they essentially after they negotiate with the Tusken Raiders, they move on and they stop again. And this actually sets up my favorite part of the episode. They come upon the Dewback. You're right. I got my chronology obviously a little confused, but they come upon the Bantha first. They come about the Dewback, dragging a rider behind it, And Mando goes to investigate.
So let me ask you a question. Mando tells them to stop because he sees something up ahead, right? But they climb a dune to look down at the dune to see where the dewback is. How in the world did he see the dewback from where he was riding him at his perspective?
Well, he does have like a slightly different vision mode on his helmet, right?
Yeah.
A little bit like, right?
Through the dune?
But I was going to say the
It's
dune is
still
probably hot as well. but-
Exactly.
Oh yeah, that's
and it's a dead body. So maybe that was what it was. It was cold, and everything around it was hot.
Okay.
I don't know.
I'm not going to get into the whole physics and science of that. I found that weird and stuff.
It's true. It is a little odd how he was able to see it before they got to the top of that dune.
Yeah.
But he finds this dewback dragging behind a corpse. Of course, the dewback being another Easter egg callback to that's the New Hope, and also they had some dewbacks in the prequel trilogy as well. In episode 1, there were a couple of scenes with dewbacks in them. Nothing crazy, but so just another callback. And Mando investigates, and he finds out that this is a corpse that's being dragged behind the dewback, and realizes that Shand is probably pretty close because the tracking fob is also going crazy. What happens next? Well,
what happens next is, she opens fire from like a nearby ridge, against the Mandalorian, and the Mandalorian starts running, and he gets shot in the Beskar armor like 2 times. Twice. Okay.
Both in the back, I think, right?
One of them was in the butt.
Yeah.
Because that's why he said,
the first one was like in the chest, right?
I got shot in the Beskar. I got shot in the Beskar.
Mm-hmm.
So that last sniper bolt squarely in the buttocks.
Yeah.
And it's cool also that they kind of established that at longer ranges, the lasers lose their power, which makes sense because otherwise I guess they travel forever because those shots weren't able to penetrate at that range with her sniper rifle.
Now, from here to like the next couple of scenes, this really relates to Call of Duty. Actually,
I love the
just-
mission. I love the plan he comes up with.
Yeah,
right?
I'm actually just gonna let you guys go, and once it's
Well, don't forget the line that he says. She's got the high ground.
I know.
We have to wait until night, basically. That's the plan that he hatches. They'll wait until night so that they have a little bit more of an advantage for the plan that he hatches next. And I don't know. I think it's pretty cool. It is interesting to me. This kind of illustrates how Mando maybe is a little too trusting because he basically says that Toro can take first watch and Mando's going to get some sleep and rest. This person that he just met and that he's on this mission with. I understand that, some of these people have turned out okay, like Gina Carano, but like, would you really trust this dude that you just met to do the first watch?
I
didn't think he was.
Yeah, I don't think he poses a threat to Mando.
Yeah, I
So-
guess he's like,
Not-
this
not
guy can't
even
do
that.
anything to
Not
me.
at the moment.
Mando didn't even seem like he was asleep. Honestly.
He's probably sleeping with one eye open.
Yeah, like, bro, you literally. Okay, I'm just gonna no.
Yeah, so what happened?
Well, that's exactly what happens next, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
He
starts
tells him
playing
to
around
take the
with
first watch, and then Toro.
I don't want to explain it.
So Toro starts mocking him almost openly. He starts pulling his gun out. He starts pointing
blaster
at him.
rifle.
He starts. Well, and Mando's basically like, "Are you done yet?" So again, like you were saying, Eli, he may not have been fully asleep. Maybe he had like one eye open while he was sleeping. He's got that bounty hunter sleep and whatnot.
Yeah.
So, what did you think about that?
I thought that was pretty funny, but it kind of relates to it's there's nothing really much to it. It was just pretty funny because like he caught him by surprise, and the way his reaction, what's his face?
Toro?
Toro's reaction was pretty funny, and just the look on his face was priceless. Not even gonna lie.
Again, just showing how green he is. You know how he thinks he's the big flash in the pan, but yet he's really not.
Looking a little green around the gills there, Potts.
Yeah, exactly. So we get into the mission,
which is a really cool night sequence
Okay.
on the speeders.
Yep.
This, was my favorite part of the episode. And actually, I think
Yes.
so far, one of my favorite action set pieces of the entire series. I think episode 3, again, takes the cake there. But this might be my second favorite action scene so far, even though that ATST with Demon Eyes from last week was pretty cool also. This was an awesome sequence with them hatching Mando's plan, which to me, again, it seems like he's learning and improvising more and coming up with better plans. Earlier on, he kind of just like blasted his way through things a little bit more and then worked his way through it. It seems like he's being a little bit smarter now.
I think this was my favorite character. I mean, my favorite
Like action scene
action
so far?
scene. And
Better than the episode 3 Mandalorian
Yes.
battle and everything like that?
Yes,
Yeah,
because
it's an awesome scene.
It reminded me a lot of Call of Duty, and it also
Like a night mission in Call of Duty?
it also kind of built on the character relationship between Toro and Mandalorian, which but like
Well, if I said what I thought, I'm gonna spoil the end of this, but we're going in a linear fashion, so I'm not gonna say anything.
Okay, so
One thing, going back to an earlier reference, he said that, the reason that he wasn't hurt with the Beskar armor and the sniper bolt was because she was at distance, but there is a point where she pretty much blasts him pretty close and stuff, and that Beskar still holds up pretty well.
yeah, as they're racing down the sand, the plan that he hatches is pretty cool. They use those flares, those flashes, to blind Shand so that she'll miss her shots. And I think that's a really cool strategy, and it's really cool when they show from her perspective like how things go completely white on her rifle's scope.
Yep.
yeah.
And then eventually, like you said, one of the shots misfires, and Mando's bike basically gets taken out. He gets launched off his bike, and again, he does get shot in the chest from like at least half the distance that he was at earlier when his Beskar armor held up. But it did look like that shot did more damage to his armor than the first two shots.
It knocked the wind out of him.
Knocked the wind out of him, and if you look at there was more laser scarring on the armor than the first two shots as well. Carbon scoring,
as they say,
than the first two shots. But Toro uses that moment that Mando uses himself as a decoy to sneak up behind Shand with his blaster rifle.
he used my trademark strategy when playing video games.
Yeah.
That's what I do in Battlefield, man. That's how you win. You flank.
No, not even
Sneak?
that.
Or what's
I
that?
go out and get shot so that the other person can go.
Oh, yes.
You know what I'm saying? So he used my strategy.
I will die so that you may live.
There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So these past two scenes really reminded me of Call of Duty because, first of all, the flashbang. Second of all, because of Dad. I remember this time where
Thanks.
Sniper rifle.
I pushed Dad out into the open where there is a sniper. He basically got the sniper.
The attention.
He distracted him, and while I shot him, and he got shot. So I basically had to do the rest.
Thank you, son.
You're welcome.
Hey, but Shand tries his best to take out, Toro tries his best to take out Shand, but of course,
Or his worst.
what you were interested in earlier, throwing knives,
Nice distraction.
enter into the equation. Shand being the awesome assassin and possible employee of the Empire in the past,
I mean,
takes some throwing knives out and was able to knock Toro's blaster out of his hand, or at least it didn't look like he knocked it out, but he was able to kind of knock his hand away in order to get into a pretty cool fight scene at that point. I thought that was pretty cool.
She was channeling Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., right?
Yeah, Agent May.
Yep. So good fight scene. She totally owned Toro. She ended up in an armbar, and that's when our hero Mando gets there and says, thanks for the distraction, basically.
There's a lot of MMA style fights in this show so
absolutely.
far, it seems, right? Because that was kind of, that was a little bit more of an action sequence than the Gina Carano MMA style fight, but armbar at the end of that was pretty cool, right?
Yep.
At the end of this fight.
Definitely. Mm-hmm. So we get the nice distraction comment from Mando, and then she gets cuffed, and then there's a reference to Navarro. Apparently, Navarro is the planet that the guild was located at, and she kind of hinted at, and again, going back to what you said, Jose, Toro had no idea who this Mandalorian was. It was quite clear that Shand knew who he was because she made that comment. She was like, have you ever been to Navarro? Right? So you have that. So eventually they're trying to head back, but again, you have one swoop bike, the other one is damaged, and so the choice is made that somebody has to go back and retrieve the dewback that they saw earlier. Originally, Mando says, hey, Toro, you go get it, and he's like, nah, I ain't leaving you with my mark and my bike. You go get it. And Mando uses his, fancy helmet, locates the dewback, and says, fine, I'll go get it. That gives Toro and Fennec Shand an opportunity to have some discussions, and those discussions kind of molds what's going to happen toward the end of the episode. Why don't you guys discuss what happened?
Well, I do want to say really quickly, it took him a really long time to get that dewback, man.
Well, it was pretty far, I guess.
I mean, they took a decent speeder ride, I guess, but that must have been more than a few miles if you think about it, because it took the whole night for him to return with the dewback.
And then not even
maybe
that.
it had wandered even further though.
You also have to take into account these are sand dunes. They're not exactly easy to go up. You got to go up and then down.
That's true. That's why he requested the speeders, I'm assuming.
And especially with while getting literally shot into the chest and into the butt 3 times with heavy armor, bro.
He's okay. He's a big boy.
Yeah, he could take it. He's gotten shot so many times.
He's in his big boy pants already.
We make fun of Boba
no
Fett
worries.
for getting taken out the way that he got taken out, but he didn't get shot at. He never got hit by a laser. I don't think.
If he didn't have that Beskar armor, this Mandalorian series would be very, very short.
Yeah, he would have been dead a long time ago.
Exactly. We have the discussions, and so Fennec starts playing on the greenness of Toro. Originally, she says, we still have time to get to Mos Espa, and you know what that reflects. That's a podcast. I'm a pod racer. A podcast. Podcast racers. That's the new thing now. No, it's a planet where pod racing is very, very prevalent in. And so you have that.
Where a very important young man is also from.
Yep. Little Anakin.
Little Annie.
Little Annie.
That's his hometown, I guess, or at least not necessarily his hometown, but where he was a slave.
Yeah.
In the Phantom
I
Menace.
guess, right?
Because who knows? They took him from wherever, maybe. Maybe he was from there originally. Maybe
Who
they
knows?
just brought him there.
So she reveals that her destination was Mos Espa. And so basically she tells Toro, listen, whatever they're paying you, I'll pay you double. And he's like, well, you know what? I'm not even interested in the money. It's all about me getting into the guild. If I bring you in, that's going to make a name for me. You know what I'm saying? And then she's like, well, the Mandalorian's here. And he's like, well, don't get this twisted. I'm not working for him. He's working for me. I hired him for this job. And she then makes the reference, oh, well, you know what? It seems like he's doing all the work. He's making all the plans. What are you doing? Mm-hmm. And that's when she starts now playing in with this whole thing. Do you even know who he is? First, she says the Beskar armor alone is more than the bounty on me. But then she goes and she says, well, guess what? Do you even know who he is? And again, greenness, he's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, she reveals that she had heard that there was a Mandalorian who shot up the guild on Navarro. And then she plays on what he's really after, it seems. What Toro is really after is he wants the fame even more than he wants the money, it seems like. He wants the money, but she tells him that he'll be a legend if he brings in, again, probably enemy number one for the guild right now, because not only is he on the run, but he shot a whole bunch of bounty hunters in episode 3. So she plays on that and says, you'll be a legend if you bring this guy in. And also notes, again, that he had a child with him. Mando had a child with him, which, again, is what Toro had noticed earlier in the episode.
Yep.
And then it backfires.
Well, at least for a certain someone.
At least
right?
for Shand.
Yeah. So once she fully convinces him and she thinks, oh, you know what, I'm finally in the clear, he just up and shoots her. And he doesn't even do it right away. He goes, he plays with her a little. He's like, all right, well, you know what, you kind of make sense. Come here, I'll take off your cuffs. And then they get like within an inch of each other, and he goes, psych. Pew.
That was cool. That I didn't exactly expect that. I expected them to actually go through with working together.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I like the realization that he has that, you know, if I take these cuffs off of you, I'm as good as dead. You know, and he realizes that he is outmatched by her, but he doesn't have a similar respect to the Mandalorian, because he's like, well, I'm not going to take her out, but I'll be able to take him out.
Because sorry to cut you off, because he probably realizes that he can use the kid.
Yeah, I guess that works.
Like, she doesn't have that particular point of exploitation. He does.
The element of surprise as well.
Yeah,
So
that
he's
too.
losing his greenness.
I will tell you.
Gather.
I will tell you one thing though. I guess his mistake there is there was no point in bringing Mando in alive, so he could have just waited for him on that dune and taken him out there. That would have been a little less suspicious than what he ends up doing, which is bouncing after killing Shand.
Well, I guess maybe what you can say is the point of having him get shot so many times with the Beskar armor is the fact that Toro realizes I can't shoot this guy because he's practically indestructible. You
Maybe
know
that
what
was
I'm
his
saying?
blaster, I guess.
Yeah, so maybe that's the reason why he figured, you know what, I can't wait until he comes back and shoot him, because where the heck am I going to shoot him? If he can take a full brunt of a sniper rifle, what was it, a TK-47 or something like that, or an MK-47? They mentioned the name of the rifle, whatever
Which
it
is a series from a previous, obviously, another callback.
Exactly. But if he can take that, then what am I going to be able to do with a blaster rifle? You know, so maybe that was part of his thinking. And again, maybe that's the reason why they showed him getting blasted so many times in this episode by that sniper rifle.
Beskar armor it's like adamantium or something like that.
Yeah, pretty much. So he shoots Fennec and leaves her there and jumps on the swoop bike and bounces. Mando gets back, sees what's going on, and kind of puts two and two together and takes the long trek back on that dewback back to Mos Eisley.
Yeah, I can imagine that might have taken like a couple of days if it took him that long to get it overnight.
I know, right?
And, of course, Toro mentions that as Mando returns. He's like, hey, took you long enough, Mando. And he's standing on the Razor's Crest landing ramp with a blaster to Pelly's back. And, of course, he's got Baby Yoda, because Baby Yoda is the mark that started the whole thing. Tells him he's calling the shots now. And, again, we get a little improvisation from some improvisation he did earlier in the episode. He uses the flash again after Toro orders Pelly to cuff Mando. He uses the flash to blind Toro, and he blasts him and takes him out.
He shoots him dead.
Very, very dead. And I think at that point, everybody was really worried about Baby Yoda when Toro fell off of the ramp with Baby Yoda in his arms.
Yeah.
But Baby Yoda was okay.
He actually skittered away, right?
Yeah.
They couldn't find him at first. They were like, where's Baby Yoda? Where's Baby Yoda? You know?
Which definitely made us all worry. But I think that was another cool little scene that kind of was Maybe a little bit of a throwback to shooting Greedo in the bar with him missing a couple of times after trying to take out Mando. I mean, I guess he's just firing wildly at this point because you probably can't take him out through that Beskar armor. But again, I think this is a pretty cool scene and a pretty cool way to take out this guy and a pretty cool way to end the episode or get to the end of the episode.
I thought it was plain and simple, just like he deserved in a way because, yeah.
Yeah, so he got himself perished. Mando goes over and grabs some credits from him, and Peli is like, "Well, I guess you didn't finish the mission, did you? So I'm not getting paid." And so he ends up giving her whatever he had. There weren't credits. They were a lot of little trinkets and stuff, but apparently it was more than enough for the work that she did because she was like, "Oh yeah, this is covered. Yeah, you're good."
It looked like it was a few different types of currencies, if anything.
Yeah.
But it was pretty cool way for him to pay her off, and again, like setting her up as a possible future ally, maybe in a future episode, maybe not this season, but maybe next season, because I mean, this show is obviously going to go to its conclusion. I would say, I don't think it's going to be like, "Oh, the Mandalorian is canceled, guys." So they're probably playing the long game with some of these characters.
Yeah, and they already started working on season 2. If I'm,
I'm sure.
Yeah, I think they're already working on that already. I think it's already in production. So, and we're gonna have a couple of characters come back for that also. So, Mando leaves the planet.
And
brand new, worked up, running just as good as always, Razor Crest.
Again,
and they're off.
So he's getting that thing either stripped or like blown up.
Yeah, I know.
Practically.
But then
Final scene.
Of course, the episode ends. Yes, in the desert, a unknown figure crouches behind Shan's body, and we don't know who this figure is. I thought the episode was going to give us a glimpse, and then
Of course not.
it cuts to black. The episode ends, and I guess this is a mysterious figure that we're going to see later on in the series.
So I was talking to Wolfie about this because I saw this early Friday morning. I couldn't wait, and he watched it around the same time as well. And the first thing that he said was like, "That's got to be Boba Fett."
No, it doesn't. Oh my God.
And the reason is and you know what? There's a lot of articles and there's a lot of rumors on the internet. A lot of people thought that it was Boba Fett just because he had a cape, and specifically because of the spurs. I don't know if you heard that, but as he was walking, there was the jingle of the spurs, which is something that was purposely put in on Boba Fett's character to kind of signify that he is a gunslinger, right? A callback to the West.
Wolfie really wants Boba Fett to come to this series.
I gave him a way that Boba Fett, and I'll talk about that after we complete this. A way for Boba Fett, in my mind, that can come back into the series. He actually loved the idea. We'll get into that later.
So do I.
But quite honestly, I hate to break it to a lot of people, but it's not going to be Boba Fett. Most likely, my first thought was it's a character that we've seen in the trailers before, and we have not seen him as of yet. That would be Giancarlo Esposito's character. That would be Moff Gideon, I believe is his name, right? And so, when we were having our discussion, I said, dude, I'm sorry, but it's not going to be Boba Fett. Most likely it's going to be the Moff. And if you know that title...
Pretty sure that's an Imperial title.
Oh, absolutely, because you have Grand Moff Tarkin.
Yeah.
He's the most
Notorious
and the most recognizable of the Moffs. So yeah, he's supposed to play that character. And if you look at the promotional images of him, he does wear the type of cape that we saw in that closing minutes of that episode.
Oh man,
so
I can't wait.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So for everybody that thinks it's Boba Fett, sorry, I don't think you're going to get that.
I'm happy with Giancarlo Esposito, man. He's in everything these days.
He's a great actor.
He was in my favorite show, probably of all time, which I've talked about many times, Breaking Bad. He's a huge character on that show. He's in The Boys. He's going to be bigger in The Boys season 2, and I can't wait to see that. And yeah, that was one of the things that drew me to the Mandalorian in the first place. The fact that he is in this show and may play a pivotal role.
Well,
they haven't
revealed the big bad, so I'm assuming that he's going to be it.
It's either him or the client.
Well, I think the client may be working for him.
That's possible too.
You know, I think that's where we're leading into, because they clearly said that the big bad hasn't been revealed for this season as yet. So most likely that's going to be him. He's the one that's looking for Baby Yoda. The client is the guy that's kind of being the facilitator getting him, because you don't do this kind of stuff. You got other people to do it for you. You know what I'm saying? So I think he's going to be our big bad for the end of the season. You guys, what do you guys think about that? You know,
What if it's Maul?
Darth Maul returns.
well, Darth
There's
Maul
so much
is
that they
dead
can do.
though.
Yeah. He's already dead by this point in the canon.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
Obi-Wan, he tracked Obi-Wan down to, and so this goes back to the
Rebels.
the TV animated show Star Wars Rebels, of a show that was run by Dave Filoni. Maul was a huge part not only in the Clone Wars animated series but also in Rebels especially, and just to, no spoilers here, because this show is what, 3 or 4 years old by now, or something like that. His motivation was to track down Obi-Wan always, because he wanted to seek revenge for what he did when they were on Naboo, which basically Obi-Wan cut him in half.
Cut him in half. That's kind of messed up.
So
man.
I mean, I
would
guess
probably seek revenge also.
Yeah, why not?
It's pretty much been his whole arc.
Yeah, that was his whole arc, and he finally was able to track down Obi-Wan in Tatooine, and it was a beautiful little scene. Not only because of the way that they ended Maul, but it was a great way of showing how Obi-Wan had progressed as a Jedi, because it was a very short fight.
Short.
It was a fight that, was a callback to the old samurai movies where you had the two fighters staring each other down, and it's one killing stroke that, ends the battle. And it's like, you don't know at the beginning who's the one that is going to fall and who's the one that's going to survive. Eventually, this was Maul's end in the Star Wars universe, and it was a touching little scene that he had. And I think one of the things that Maul said, he was like, "Go get revenge on those people who have wronged us." Right? That was his.
Sith.
Yeah, that was his parting shot. That was his thing, and it's nice because the way they did it, Obi-Wan came and he kind of cradled Darth Maul in his arms while he was dying, and that's when he said, "You know what? Go out and get revenge on the ones that have wronged us and stuff." So Maul, unfortunately, in this universe, is gone and perished and dead.
Unless he faked us all out again.
Yeah.
Like he did when he got cut in half.
Exactly. So you never know. Well,
It's like Deadpool dying at the end of Deadpool 2 several times.
The reason that he survived was because he was so angry that he crawled himself out of there.
The dark side is very powerful.
And he's also lucky that a lightsaber kind of cauterizes the wound so he didn't bleed out,
Didn't work for Qui-Gon, but
it is what it is. So that brings us to the end of that episode. I thought it was a very well done episode. You want to talk about that little theory that me and Wolfie had about?
No,
Boba
you
Fett?
explain it. You explain it.
So Wolfie is dying to see Boba Fett in this series. I mean, absolutely dying. Every single shot that would even kind of suggest that Boba's there.
He blames us for teasing him.
Yes, and we listen. We tease him because it's fun, but ultimately we are kind of fans of the Fetts, right?
Yeah, he's like one of
Sorry,
my favorite
I
characters.
lean towards Django.
That's okay, but
yeah.
we're not hating on the Fetts, right? So one way that I thought that you could bring Boba Fett into the show and into the series is, you can have Boba Fett kind of come in almost like a big bad as well. You know,
He's still a bounty hunter after all.
exactly. So what better way of bringing him in by having the guild reach out to him and say, hey, guess what? We've tried everything. You're the guy. You got to bring in your own guy. And my way
It's like
of
Boondock Saints.
yeah, exactly. My way of thinking is that at the very end of the season, once you've cleared up whatever you need to clear up for the season, the end of the show can have Grief meeting up with Boba and says, listen, I've got a fob. And you cut right there. And then the second season will be all about Boba trying to catch up with the Mandalorian. And
then connecting with him, perhaps.
There
and
you go.
switching again, kind of like Boondock Saints, because you remember the dude that ended up going after them ended up being their dad. Remember? So
I wouldn't.
I'm not
go
saying
that.
I'm not
far,
saying that's
you
the
know?
case. I'm not saying Boba
But
Fett's his dad.
I think you're
but
on the same
that
line
kinship.
as I am.
Yeah, I see where you're going with this. Like,
So you have Boba Fett.
this is the way, after all.
Exactly. You have Boba Fett kind of, missing him at each planet, just barely there, and then finally they do catch up, and Mando kind of has a way of explaining what he's doing, why he's doing, and Boba Fett is like, okay, that's cool. Let's go do what we got to do, and it becomes a team up instead.
But that would also turn Boba Fett into a good guy, which he traditionally has definitely not been, and that's been a big
But-
part of his appeal.
Well, he's not a bad guy. He's not a good guy. He's just a greedy guy. He wants money, so he'll do whatever it takes. I don't think he has.
It's kind of bad, though.
Well,
Isn't
I
it?
guess you know what I'm
Whatever
saying.
I mean, Mando
But he's
was
not-
like, I'm not going to kill his baby for the money. Boba Fett would probably kill that baby. He'd be like, you know what, Baby Yoda?
True.
Sorry, dude. Blast.
True.
And that would be it. I'm not saying it's a bad idea, and if he was a later season big bad, it might be like the redemption of Boba Fett. Maybe like instead of him staying as a bad guy, this is how he kind of gets Darth Vader and he becomes a good guy.
You make him like an anti-hero.
Yeah, so if he's a later season character, I could see that being a kind of a cool way to bring him
Yeah,
into the
he
show
could be
if
like
they
a
handle it.
teacher. He
Yeah.
could be like a teacher.
You
Yeah.
guys just reminded me. We completely overlooked this. Mandalorian quoted Boba.
Yeah, he did. He's no good to us dead.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's true.
He's no good to us dead. But I mean, it would be a cool idea, I think, to bring it up that way. But I guess we're gonna see how the episodes progress.
Just how?
At least
Beskar
they're on
armor. That stuff is indestructible, dude.
Yeah, that is true.
not to the Sarlacc. Because, like,
Well,
the
it takes
Sarlacc-
1,000 years to digest
How
a
do you know
person.
that?
How long will it take to digest armor? Think about that.
10,000 years.
Or 10,000 years, right?
Yeah.
To digest a human that's just skin and bones versus
add
metal
to-
that takes blaster bolts.
So
It makes
10
sense that
times?
he would survive. Yeah, probably even more.
Yeah. A
Maybe less, I
million
guess,
years.
depending on
I don't
the
know.
composition of the acid in the Sarlacc's stomach.
Well, first of all, he's not going to last 10,000 years. So
You better get out pretty quick.
exactly. But he there is a way for him to get out of that
plausible
Sarlacc
then.
pit, and it's been done in Legends. So Wolfie, you still have a chance.
We'll see, guy. We'll see.
So that's going to bring us to the end of this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let's talk a little bit about that giveaway that we referenced before.
Let us talk about it indeed. Walt, can you give us some details?
Sure, of course. So this is going to be our first giveaway, and we are lucky because we have a pair of socks from the Stance Company. And since we're geeking out about Mandalorians, this is a Mandalorian themed sock collection. It's one pair of socks and stuff. So if you go on the Stance website, you'll see that particular pair is sold out. So you'll be getting some exclusive swag.
What will you do?
So the way you're going to do this is this way. We have an Instagram account. It's at Get Geek News. And so what we'll need for you guys to do is to like and follow Get Geek News, tag 3 friends, and repost the post that we're going to put up Monday afternoon. So we're looking to have this thing done by Friday. So we'll have a winner and we'll announce it on the show next week. So guys, get out there. Like and follow at Get Geek News on Instagram. Tag 3 friends and repost. And maybe, just maybe, your feet will be caressed by the Mandalorians.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Fortnite V-Bucks. Fortnite. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. We want to thank you once again. Get started on that giveaway. Tag and share the post. Follow Get Geek News. And we really, really want to thank you once again for joining us for an episode of the Get Geek podcast, recapping The Mandalorian. Signing off, I am Jose.
This is AJ bidding thee adieu.
This is Walt.
Elias.
Goodbye, fellow intellectuals.
We bid you all adieu, and definitely, please, guys, you must stay geeky, my friends.